Have you ever caught yourself working late even when you don't have to? Or felt strangely restless on a lazy Sunday afternoon? That little itch to be productive might feel personal, but German sociologist Max Weber would say it's a cultural inheritance that's been quietly shaping us for over 400 years. In his 1905 classic, The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, Weber argued modern capitalism wasn't born only from markets or machines. It was fueled by a moral framework deeply rooted in Protestant religious beliefs, especially Calvinism, shaping how societies viewed work, time, and the meaning of success. Calvinists believed in predestination, that God had already chosen who would be saved. Since no one knew their fate, believers sought reassurance through discipline, hard work, and frugality. Earthly success became a possible sign of divine favor, turning daily labor into a profoundly spiritual act. Over centuries, Protestant theology has faded, but its work ethic remained. Labor shifted from a spiritual calling to a social duty. A good life meant tireless effort and achievement. Productivity became proof of virtue, even without the religious roots that had first inspired it. Weber called this the iron cage, working for work's sake, even when the original purpose is gone. Today's hustle culture, side gigs, and constant availability show the cage still exists, reinforced by screens, notifications, and an endless race for productivity. For example, have you ever felt like no matter how much you do, it's still not enough? That's because we are living in a hustle culture, where our culture quietly tells us your worth is measured by how much you can produce. It's 4:30 a.m., a young entrepreneur films herself sipping black coffee, laying out her success routine, 2 hours of emails, a quick workout, podcast listening while cooking eggs, then diving straight into her side hustle before her main job begins. She's exhausted, but proud. It's about proving value through relentless motion. Weber would instantly recognize this as the Protestant ethic reborn. The original Calvinists worked tirelessly to signal moral worth. Today's hustle influencers work tirelessly to signal personal value. The theology is gone, but the moral weight remains. Idleness is still shameful, just rebranded as wasting potential. If you feel pulled into hustle culture, ask yourself, is this work moving me toward a goal I chose, or am I just feeding a cultural script? Try replacing always more with enough, not underachieving, just right-sizing effort to match what truly matters to you. Have you ever been off work, but still working? That's because we are living in an always-on workplace, where we've absorbed the belief that time must always be productive, and technology makes that expectation impossible to escape. You're on vacation, palm trees sway, the ocean glitters, and your phone buzzes. A quick work message, then another. Before long, you're editing a document by the hotel pool. The Protestant ethic's suspicion of idleness now lives in your pocket. In Weber's world, time was sacred because wasting it was morally wrong. That ethic now lives in corporate culture, where being constantly reachable is the new badge of dedication. The smartphone just turned the iron cage portable. Set invisible but firm walls around your time. Turn off email notifications after work hours, or use an out-of-office reply that buys you mental space. Protecting your offers is not laziness. It's the only way to ensure work doesn't colonize every corner of life. Do you ever keep going long after you plan to stop, just in case you can squeeze in one more job? That's because we are caught in a gig economy trap, where modern work culture rewards constant activity and makes stopping feel like falling behind. A rideshare driver finishes a late shift at 11 p.m., but checks the app just to see if there's one more high-paying trip nearby. One ride turns into 3. By 2 a.m., they're still going, even though tomorrow starts early. In the old Protestant ethic, the drive to keep working came from spiritual anxiety, never knowing if you'd proven yourself enough. In today's gig economy, the anxiety is financial and cultural. If you're not earning, you're falling behind. And because the apps reward constant engagement, there's no natural stop point. Set a personal enough threshold, hours, income, or both, before you even open the app. And when you reach it, no matter how tempting it is to keep going, your rest is not lost income, it's gained life. Would you still know how to describe yourself if you couldn't talk about your job? That's because we live in a world of productivity as identity, where for centuries we've tied who we are to what we do for work. At a party, someone asks, "So what do you do?" You answer with your job title. They nod approvingly. But what happens when you're between jobs, or when you retire? For many people, losing a role feels like losing a self. The Protestant work ethic didn't just make work a virtue, it made it the core of self-definition. Your calling was both spiritual and social identity. A secular life, that identity stuck. Today, a person's worth is still often sized up by their occupation. Cultivate a richer self-introduction. Include hobbies, causes, passions, parts of you unrelated to your paycheck. This weakens the grip of the idea that you are your work and builds resilience if your job status changes. Have you ever felt guilty for doing absolutely nothing? That's because we live in a mindset of rest with guilt, where the old moral code still whispers that every hour must be justified by output, making true rest feel like a waste instead of a necessity. You finally have a free Sunday. You sit on the couch with a book, but after 20 minutes, you're restless. Shouldn't you be cleaning, answering emails, doing something? Unstructured leisure feels almost wrong. Not because it is, but because we've been taught to see it that way. In Weber's analysis, even leisure was suspect in the Protestant ethic. Time should be used productively. Today, rest is allowed only when it serves performance. Meditation to work better, workouts to be more efficient. True unstructured leisure feels almost morally wrong. Reclaim useless rest. Block out an afternoon for no planned activity and guard it like a meeting with your boss. Give yourself permission to waste time because that's the only way to break the guilt cycle. Weber's iron cage is hard to see from the inside. We think we're making individual choices, but much of our discomfort with rest, our pride in overwork, and our constant striving are inherited habits. They survived long after the religion that birthed them faded, embedded in culture, language, and business. Weber wasn't telling us to work less for the sake of it. His warning was subtler. Without conscious meaning, work risks becoming an endless loop. You can be busy your entire life and still not know why. Breaking the cycle doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means reclaiming choice. Work hard, but for purposes you understand and believe in. Rest without shame. Build an identity that won't collapse if you log off. When you next feel the itch to do something in a rare, quiet moment, remember, that urge is older than you. Older than your job. Older than capitalism as we know it. Pausing isn't wasting time. It's stepping outside a 400-year-old machine and breathing in air it doesn't control. If this made you rethink why we work so hard and maybe feel a little freer to pause, please hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into ideas that shape our lives. Got thoughts on hustle culture or rest? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your take.